So, today is the day of my Cambridge interview. We're a bit late, we should have left. I'm a bit nervous. But overall, I think we'll be okay. I went to bed late last night because I got in late from work. And then I went in the bathroom and I watched like 2 episodes of The Crown, which I shouldn't have done, but I wanted my chill time. And then I woke up in good time. I just decided to do everything a bit slow. But now I'm ready. I'm waiting on my ride to take me. Because when you don't drive, you depend on everyone else. So yeah, we'll be getting ready to go. I'm going to do like some quick revision of my notes from like my practice interviews from my teachers. Because they helped me. They did like practice interviews with me. And I wrote notes of what they had said, stuff to keep in mind. So that's what I'm going to read over in the car. I've got like some LNAT books, some books about like the national test for law. And I'm going to read over those about what they say for essays, because I feel like the Cambridge essay will be a bit similar. I mean, I've done it before, but I haven't written an essay in a while. I need pens. Let me get some pens. And then hopefully I'll fill you in with how it went after. So we made it to Cambridge in like just enough time, like literally got there at 11:54 and my test was at 12. God. And like I got in and the porters I like ran out of the car because we passed the college, and I was like, wait, I need to go in, wait, you should have turned. And I ran in and then I went to the porter's lodge, and then the guy, like, because for some reason they wrote down that they wrote down the time of my first interview before they wrote down the time of my test. My test was at 12 and my first interview's at 3:30. So the guy was like, oh, you're here in enough time. And I was like, am I? And then he looked again, and he was like, oh wait, no, you're just in time. And then another guy, he was like, oh, my friend will help you, take you to the student common room. And as he was showing me the student common room, I saw people walking out. And so, like, he told me where it was, but I just followed the people because I was like, excuse me, you guys going to a test? And they were like, I was like, a law test? And they was like, I was like, okay, this is where I need to be. And I just followed them in. But, like, obviously the student who was guiding them, he didn't see me. And so when we got into the test room, it's really loud. When we got into the test room, he was like, oh, Drew hasn't arrived yet. I was like, no, wait. I'm here, I'm Drew. I got in, I managed to sit the test, that is the important part. And I usually get very agitated and anxious when I'm late or running late, and then I kind of just like get very jittery, but I managed to calm down in the car on the ride, and I was like, okay, calm down, you can do this. And the thing is, I did the test last year, and I thought that it followed the same format, so I didn't look up example tests. Obviously they changed the format, and it was more like, you know, the LNAT where you have a choice of 3 questions. You have a choice of 3 questions. But it was fine because I looked over in the car just before, so I was kind of prepared for what I was going to see. Imagine if I didn't look it over, I'd be like, what is this? But yeah, managed to sit the test. I think it went really well. I hope. I was trying to use my English analysis and like stay on track and answer the question. It was a bit difficult though, because I felt like I was getting a bit carried away at some points. But yeah, it's so weird because I don't know any of them, and like, I don't know, I want to meet them and talk to them, so I'd probably go back to the student common room. I have a lot of time. Let's not get carried away. I have a bit of time to kill. I'm just going to meet my mum, and she's who I came down here with, and with her partner. They dropped me. I got to find them. They're apparently on this road, and I've just been stopping to talk to you guys. I see them. But yeah, stay tuned. That was part 1 done. Hey guys, so I'm actually back home now. I didn't get to film for part 2 and part 3 of my interview at Cambridge, because once I finished, it was too dark. My first interview was at 3:30, and because it's basically winter now, everything gets really dark at like 4 p.m. So after I come out of my interview, there was no light. And when I came out of my second interview, it looked like it was 8 p.m. It was so dark. But, and then I was tired and I fell asleep in the car. But that's another story. I'll run through what happened in the interview process now, and then we can chat about it. So, the first interview was with 2 people, one of which was the professor, I think like the person in charge of the studies at the college. And in that one, I went in and we just started talking like randomly. It was supposed to be the general interview, but with law, I don't really think that is a general interview. Most of them are pretty law based, where one of them is more heavily based on like a passage or something. So the first interview went in, and he was just talking about my A-levels, and I did English, drama and French, and he was like, right, so since I don't know anything about drama and my French is appalling, I suppose we better talk about English. And then he just asked me about like what books I've been reading, and then we spoke about that for a bit. And I thought that was the interview process, because he was asking me like, oh, like what's the most important thing that you think you learned from that book, those kind of questions. But then afterwards it was like, right, well, my colleague wants to talk about law, so I suppose we better talk about that then. I was like, oh, okay, so was that not part of the interview process? I don't know. It might have been. I don't know. But yeah, and then I had to listen to these 3 scenarios and then pick the odd one out. And I didn't pick the right one, and I felt pretty silly, because in order for me to get to the right one, I needed a lot of pushing from them, for them to be like, right, well, think about it this way. And then I thought about it, and I couldn't come up with the answer. I was like, but I don't understand, is it this one? And then I had to like bounce off of them, and I was like, can I ask questions? Like, is it something I had to figure out on my own? And when I found out the answer, I was like, oh, this was kind of obvious. I feel like I should have known. But at the end, when I was speaking to the student helper who came to collect me for my interview, it was like, don't feel like stupid because you didn't get the answer correct. They don't expect you to get the answer correct. They want to know how you think. And I think that is expressed quite clearly, because after like they asked me, pick because words. And I think the emphasis is on your way of thinking more about anything else, because they did say, okay, so out of the 3 scenarios, we want you to pick one that is the odd one out and tell us why you think that's the odd one out. So it wasn't just based on the answer. It's like maths, they want to see your workings out. And so I think that plays a part. I'm not sure that I still came out feeling a bit down, like, oh, I could have done better. But then the student helper picked me up and we walked over to the library, because then he had a passage to read for 20 minutes. Like, I got 25 minutes because I get extra time. And then it was like a little passage with some questions on the back page, and you had to read it and then answer the questions, and you talk about what you wrote down in the interview. We didn't get through all of what I had written down exactly as it was. We sat down and they asked, oh, so, how did you find the passages? And I was like, oh, the third one was a bit confusing. And they was like, oh, well, you'd be happy to know that we haven't actually gotten to the third one. And I was like, oh, okay, great. But then after the first scenario, we kind of talked about a bunch of different things, and that included the third one. So we spoke about all of them. They really test how you think. They test the actual wording of what's been written down. So you have to really read it carefully and see, okay, what am I inferring and what is it actually saying? As they would, so most of the times that makes a big difference. And we spoke about lots of philosophical questions like, oh, well, what if it was this scenario, and give us an example. Do you think you can give us an example where it would be the same? as the situation that we've just discussed. And it was just very like testing how you think, testing how you respond to difficult scenarios. But I felt like the second one went a lot better. Maybe because I had warmed up. I had my first interview and it wasn't all just... I had actually something to base it on, and they were very nice. They were there to try and help me and guide me to the right answer. Kind of like a supervision, because they kind of want to see how you would do in a supervision type setting. That is one of the like unique parts of Cambridge's course. And so they want to see how you would respond to that in a good way or in a bad way, because if you respond to it in a bad way, then you're not going to benefit from their studies. I don't know if I responded to it in a good way or a bad way. That's another question, one that they're deciding. But then, yeah, after that second interview was done, I was free to go home. I got a meal ticket and I got some free food. Even though I was told when I got there that I wasn't going to get a meal ticket because I wasn't sleeping over. And then my student helper told me that I should have gotten one. So we bought food and then I got the free food afterwards because free food. And then afterwards, I just had a YOLO moment with my mum and we got cheeky Nando's. And that was my interview day. I feel like overall it went well. I dressed quite comfortably. I saw some people wearing suits and I was like, oh wow, making me feel a bit uncomfortable. I ended up wearing this hoodie. Like, I'll show you. I go hard or go home. Now is the hard part of after the interview. I feel like the interview is not even the hardest thing. It's after the interview when you have to distract yourself from the impending decision in January. Oh gosh. I literally just got my offer letter from Cambridge University to study there this year, which was quite a surprise for two reasons. Number one, I wasn't expecting a letter, I was expecting an email, so when I saw the letter I was like, huh? And then, huh? And then secondly, because I wasn't expecting anything until Friday the 12th, which is when I thought that they would get back to me, because last year it was like 11th and then 12th is when they would get back to people. But, oh my gosh. So now this is only half the battle. I still have to get the grades. I'm on the journey. Expect major hardcore revision to start now. So I'm not stressing out. I'll see you in my next video.